Welcome to Season 3 of the Delicious Alignment Podcast. We've got a new name, Delicious Alignment and the Art of Abundance. Abundance in all areas. We'll cover topics related to health, wealth, and happiness, including loving your body and making peace with food, my personal specialty. I'm so excited about today's guest and upcoming guests, including Ramona Galli, Sarah Landon, and many, many more. I'm trying something new this season. I'm going to have a guest episode followed by a shorter integration episode the following week where I discuss the highlights from the previous week's interview. My intention is to publish an episode every Thursday, and we shall see how that goes, right? I want to practice what I preach and do things that feel good, that are easy, that you also enjoy and get a lot out of. So if it's not fun and easy, I may switch it up. But for right now, this is the plan. And I'm always open to your feedback. So, whether you've been with me from the beginning of this show or whether you're just tuning in now for the first time, I want to say thank you for being a part of my podcast journey. You know, starting a business or a podcast is like the biggest personal and spiritual development program you could ever embark upon. Lots and lots of expansion that keeps happening. When you listen to your intuition and just keep following the breadcrumbs, the next steps are revealed to you, and life can be really amazing. Alrighty, let's get this party started. Disclaimer: the views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the guests and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of Delicious Alignment or its host. To kick off Season 3, I've got a wonderful guest for you today, Turk Akbay, on getting comfortable with more money and abundance. Turk is an entrepreneur and created a multitude of successful companies, including a dog training business, which he still loves and operates today. By the way, Turk's TEDx talk, Are You Being an American?, which has over 32,000 views on YouTube, shares how he immigrated to the United States by himself at only 17 years old with only $200 in his pocket. Later on, Turk discovered the teachings of Abraham Hicks and has been in the hot seat well over 10 times at workshops all over the world, a testament to his deep commitment to understanding and seeking universal wisdom. Hi, Turk.
Hi, Rhonda. Good morning.
Good morning. It's so nice to get to speak with you. I've heard quite a bit about you. A few people said, you've got to talk to Turk. You've been in the hot seat quite a few times, huh?
Yes, Abraham has been nice to me. I've been picked up quite a few times. I stopped counting at 10. Let's just say that.
I know you were so generous to send me some recordings from your hot seat, and I was listening to them last night. So good. So we will get into that. But first, tell me a little bit about yourself, what your life was like before finding Abraham, getting into all this spiritual stuff, and what it's like now.
Yeah, sure. So I've been a seeker all my life. So from an early age, like first time my questioning of the why, how all this works out. I remember having a deep discussion that got me in trouble with my fourth grade teacher about if there's God, why are all these problems and things like that. I was quite vocal, and I grew up in Turkey, hence the name Turk. Not an environment where these kind of questions are actually welcome. But I had been a seeker for a very long time, essentially all my life. And of course, it expanded more throughout. I had the opportunity, but I read Abrahamic religions, their books. I've always been a seeker of the one who writes this story. I always felt connected, but I didn't know how precise or how well programmed this thing is. And so I've always been seeking God. And that journey took me throughout. I studied Buddhism, Hinduism. Once I finished with the Judeo-Christian religions and of course Islam, and then it went more east. I read Tao Te Ching and all these classic books, and I went to Far East, talked to gurus and people who are doing these things, like, oh, how is this making sense? And all these things led me in, and I, at one point, early days of internet, when Google was printing all these books, they were putting it and I discovered these public domain books. So I started reading books from the late 1800s, early stages. That's when I started understanding or first reading about law of attraction, how things are clicking together. Let's say the engine that was running this. Around that time, my wife handed me a cassette. Cassette.
Yes,
Uh,
cassette.
someone handed to her because she's into spirituality as well. That this is right up your alley. It didn't really click for her. She passed it to me, and when I was listening to it, it really clicked with me. Now, I grew up in Turkey where channeling or mediums, these kind of things are normal. So it didn't require
Oh.
me to really overcome a lot of these concepts that is newer to more Western brain. When I was listening to them, this lady is a scammer. Whatever this person is, I said, they have an earpiece. All this stuff is, it's like total rubbish. I was very resistant, not
Mhm.
channeling, but to Esther and Abraham combination.
Okay.
And so I'm like, this is what a scammer and all this. There's an old movie with Steve Martin called Leap of Faith, where he's one of those Christian miracle men. I was imagining Esther to be something like that. And then they were coming to Asheville. And when I was listening to these recordings, I said, oh, I'm going to go there. And since no question is off limits, I'm going to just go ahead and crash this scam because that's the type of person I
Well,
am. But in those days, like early Abraham, they used to meet somewhere else and it was at two separate days.
yes.
So I bought a ticket for Sunday and I live in Charlotte. So I drove there and I went in sitting in the back of the room and I could just feel the energy. I said,
Mhm.
whoa, I've seen other people channel. I've met other meetings like that. And I know Esther doesn't like that term, but I do believe there's a different realm that some people are able to tap in. And that was clear. A couple things that really resonated for me that's when I'm like, this is not a scam for me. Is one is how when you're listening to each word is a thought. And so when you listen to the fourth string, Abraham is talking to people who are in hot seats, is there's a working that you can see that energy pick up from a really low level of whatever the person is asking, how they move up slowly, not just giving the answer, but really guiding the person up to a higher vibration. And two is how well confrontational people, like how Abraham's interaction with that. So if somebody's in a hot seat, is I don't believe you, you're a jerk. This hasn't happened. But like there are videos of people who are confrontational towards this belief system, how Abraham is not pushing against, not trying to convince,
Mhm.
not trying to debunk that person's belief or anything else, but really creating this space for the person to go up to that level. And there's an Hindu saying, a candle can light up thousands of candles without losing its own power. And I was able to see this in person. I said, oh, this lady is not scam. Not only that, but now I have an opportunity to really leverage what she is offering. One thing led to another. I went to hot seat. I went on an Atlanta trip a few years later. A lot of people who find Abraham, just like a lot of people who become born again Christians, or when they find blah, 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 this is the best thing. Blah, 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 blah. I was like that, super annoying people around me. People rolling their eyes. I'm like, oh, that's good. And it was just like, whatever. But at one point, my wife and I went to Atlanta. And at that time, that was my first time in hot seat. I was having, and I've been meditating since 90s. So way before I found
Mhm.
Abraham, like Abraham wasn't my first step to law attraction. I've already knew law attraction and everything else. And I said, this is something I already know. And then I went and that I really appreciate. action is done to benefit the people who want to be there. So
Yeah.
that's I got really engrossed in it, and I went to Atlanta. I had a hot seat conversation about my crazy road rage. Like I used to go really cuckoo around road. So I went to Abraham.
Oh, I didn't listen to that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm like, why is this happening? Abraham is, you can't get to the bottom of this. Not the why is not the right question. And one thing that I witnessed while I was in hot seat, because I couldn't adjust at the time, it took me a few times. I couldn't really hear Abraham. All I could hear while I was in hot seat was like being in a wind tunnel. I could hear it in my physiology, the answers, as I'm asking the questions, but I couldn't hear with my ears. It was,
What do you think was going on there? Well, do you know why? I'm just curious.
yeah. So I think, and the way that I use Abraham when I'm in hot seat is really there is a part that verbal because it involves brain in a three-dimensional, but my whole being, who's a lot more than this three-dimensional body. It's the same thing with Esther is just a human being who's able to tap in. So she's like a translator, like eyes are the translator of vibration. And so when I was wide open, this all exchange is happening in multi-dimensional way. But when I concentrate on my ears, like trying to hear the words, it's
Okay.
okay, but it's not the same thing. It was much better. I was like, wow, this is great. It was a one day event. I said, oh, this sucks. It's over. Like
Yeah.
hours. And then they're like, have a nice day. Have a nice day. I have 6 new questions.
Yeah, yeah. So I wanted to ask you, and I don't even know why I want to ask this question. I'm just curious because for me, when I was very young, fifth grade or even fourth grade, I was in Catholic school, taught by nuns in some cases, and I just rebelled against what I was learning about religion and the Catholic religion. The God that they were telling me was very mean in my mind and cruel. I just thought, very at a very young age, what the heck is going on? And I think I got a little bit depressed over it. Like, what is going on in this world? And so I started my journey of seeking very young. And I was just wondering if sounds like you started very young as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, like, who are seekers, and I don't mean that where I am in my life is I don't really view things as better or worse. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think seekers are able to understand as what you're telling me and what I'm witnessing are not the same because I grew up with a Muslim God who was vengeful.
Right.
That's what very restricted. And then I was like, how can it just you can't square the circle. Is a merciful God that likes to inflict pain. That's a contradiction. And people are like, don't question. I'm like, that's really convenient.
Yeah.
Like,
Just follow, just obey, and don't question. Don't
right,
use your
right.
mind. Don't use thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then I remember like I was like 16 or 17 and I was walking around this like football field and I don't even know if this was real or if it was like an aberration, but I remember this in my mind, like God loves you in the grass, like somebody had mowed it into the grass. To this day, I don't know if that was real or it's a imagination, but I started to go to 12-step programs for actually Overeaters Anonymous, and they told me about these books, which led me to someone else who told me about the books that the Anonymous, the founders used to read. They were very metaphysical, like Emmett Fox. I don't know if you've Sermon on the Mount. And that was my first introduction to the law of attraction, where the beginning of that book, you open it up and it is talking about how we create our own reality. So do you have a moment like that where you're like, oh my God, like how you start to realize you're the creator of your reality?
Yeah. First time I experienced that manifestation, I was in 4th grade. and I didn't do my homework. And then all the way to the bus, and I was just praying, and it was an important homework. I was just not praying or whatever. I was negotiating with God. It's like, don't let teacher be there and then I'll be good or whatever. And teacher wasn't there. And so I felt really guilty. I recognized that thought that there was like, I did this, but my brain then immediately went, oh, she probably was sick. She was probably partying, who knows?
Mhm.
But in my brain and with my teachings, which my understanding was like, oh, I made her sick. So it was like there was this pushing against and eventually like denying that opportunity. And there were other times when I witnessed different things, but me creating my own reality, it was never like something that I did not have an aha moment. I remember that happening. And then I was really scared of that power because I thought I could make other people sick because of selfish
Mhm.
desires. Like I
Mhm.
didn't quite
Mhm.
understand.
Mhm.
And that's now when I think about this, is like the seed of lack mentality. Like, oh, if I'm
Mm.
winning, somebody else must be losing. But now
Right.
I'm understanding more and more that no, two people, everybody can win. Like everyone gets to win, which is a
Right.
different mindset.
Yeah. So I'd love to talk to you, Turk, about some of your hot seats, some of your favorite hot seats, some of your insights. Do any of them come to mind? I also have them here as well. Which one would you like to talk about
I
first?
love all of them because again, the way that I use Abraham is super selfish. So I go there, first of all, first 5, 6, 7, 8 times that I couldn't even hear. It's such a bizarre reality. And I say this to people. I write my questions, but I had always had questions, like pages and pages. And then I go ask my questions and I practice it. And then it was like, I'm like, what's going on? This is a mind boggling. Like while I'm in hot seat, I think I'm talking normal. And then I'm listening to this recording. I'm like, this sucks.
Sounded different when you were asking the question and
Yeah, it's
talking.
so
Oh,
weird. Like, it's just mind-boggling to me because it's bizarre. But once I recognize, and so sometimes what happens is I get the recordings when they were sending it in MP3, and then I'll have because I have a question that doesn't come out right, but the question is in my heart. So it really doesn't matter because Abraham really is not listening to the word. I was called drone boy for a long time. Long time. I go to places that are like, you sound like the drone boy. I'm like, "Man."
huh?
I'm like,
Oh, so you're like the drone boy, famous celebrity. I was just interviewing Liz Hazen. I was like, "You're the Puerto Rico
that's
buffalo
right.
lady."
Yeah,
Oh, okay. So you're the drone crash guy.
that's
Okay.
right.
Or you're the
Yeah,
baseball guy.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's right. Yeah, it's us that are regular. That's how I know Liz. When we first time we met, it was based on a question between Buffalo and Puerto Rico. I think that was in Nashville. I was like, first of all, I'm like, she has 5 kids, and I'm like, I wonder how this is gonna be. And later on, when you're following Abraham regularly, you're like, and then it's unfolding. Sherilyn was for me. I always remembered her as Tesla girl because she talked about getting her Tesla for multiple recordings.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
know, so that's the voices when you're listening, you're hearing your own question, although it's not verbatim. Like we're in a Land Cruise, I asked my drone crash question, and then I left. Someone zoomed right to me. They're like, "Oh my god, you asked my question." I said, "You have a drone?" They're like, "No, I crashed the relationship." Oh, like that person left, somebody else came in, they're like, "You asked my question." I'm like, "You have a drone or did you crash a relationship?" And that person's, "No, I crashed a career."
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah,
Because your question was really about things are going so well. I'm in such a great vibration. And then crash, the drone crashes, or the girl leaves you, or something happens that's unwanted. So
Yes.
since we're talking about this, can you tell that exchange a little bit with Abraham about your drone crashing?
Yeah. Yeah. So multiple things happening. Just for people who don't know. So I was in hot seat, and my question was, and this is a true statement, that I bought a drone that I always wanted to buy flying things growing up that I couldn't afford it. I've always seen people who are playing remote control drones or airplanes when I was growing up. So I bought this drone, super excited. It was a beautiful day. I said, I'm going to go fly my drone. And I was high flying. It is just like most joy. I remember as I'm leaving the house, smiling ear to ear, looked at my wife. I said, I love you. This is like so good. Like total joy. I can just feel it right now. I went to this open field and I was flying my drone and I literally outburst. It was like, this is the happiest day of my life. And then I saw my drone went, "Wah, wah," and then it was just like, and it crashed.
Into a bunch of pieces.
It was just like, no, I couldn't even see it. It was like it landed somewhere
Okay.
far away.
Yeah.
And so I get into my car and trying to find my drone and crying, literally, not
Aw.
just bawling.
Uh-huh.
So that was my question. Is like my question to Abraham was, how is this possible? I was having this amazing time, and then in a flick of a second, it became a disaster. Like from super joy and outbursting, I'm so happy, into
Mhm.
complete chaos. Now, I certainly understand for people who are like saying, dude, relax, it's a drone.
Right.
I got that. I
Right.
understand.
Yes. Yes.
But we're talking about the emotional escalation going from hero to zero.
Mhm.
This was years ago, and this happened multiple times since then. I crashed other things. So my question was, how is this possible? So what Abraham was saying to me, she says, yes, they said, yes, you were being happy, but unconsciously you have introduced some unwanted. So later on, this analogies, Abraham's analogies evolve as our consciousness evolves too, right?
Mhm.
But I
Mhm.
do remember in that moment, when I'm being totally honest, feeling this super joy and then thinking, oh, I hope this doesn't end or whatever. And what was really painful that Abraham interrupted me while I was in hot seat. I was saying, this happened to me all my life. This is a pattern. I had a balloon that I loved. Somebody was smoking and my balloon popped. I was playing soccer on the streets. Big boys came, slapped me, and stole my ball. I was Abraham. Stop. You're not helping your case, because what
Right.
you're doing is you keep bringing these things and you keep holding on to them. As a result, that it's building momentum. Today, or not today, but now in my current explanation of this, is what really resonates with me is the stick has both ends. And so, although I was in joy part, I was actually also grabbing the unwanted part. So, what I learned from this experience in another deeper level, again, my interaction with Abraham, yes, there's a verbiage, but for me, what value Esther delivers through Abraham to me is, I know in my consciousness there's a lot more things that I may not be currently aware on my brain consciousness, but I am aware, or they have these memories and echoes in my full being. So when I'm fully open, like having super joy, creativity is faster. So when I introduce unwanted, it's like the universe is like, momentum is going, this magnet is pulling. I said, oh, let me put this piece of shit here too. And then it's like quickly pulled up because I was wide open. no resistance to what unwanted thing that I introduced.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, that when I think about like when I'm fully open and I know there's a creeping in my brain is like, this too shall pass. I go, no reason to crush this throne. And then I immediately go back to really appreciating more, to build more. Because again, once there is momentum of like when we're fully open, like when we're fully allowing, law attraction doesn't care. It'll bring whatever that we introduce, crank up the magnet, and now
Yeah.
whatever point that will come. So that's where conscious creation is. I
Yeah.
go, oh yeah, this is back in my mind here, but I don't have to give it any air to that. Let's stick to this and building more momentum to this side.
Yeah. And I do remember I did listen to that clip, and Abraham was like, you wouldn't have been in the hot seat if you didn't have that drone experience. Good things. Everything is, I believe, for me, my belief is that everything is happening for us, even if it seems like it's unwanted, even if it's crappy, or no matter what it is, if you interpret it as unwanted, it's still everything. Now I look at it, okay, it's happening for me. So yeah, you may not like it, you may cry, but like the drone crashing, it could be like, oh my God, that's terrible. But it's happening for you in some way. And then Abraham even said that you're in the hot seat because you had this burning question about your drone crashing. And then everyone could relate to your question, even though they don't have a drone that crashed. Eric Olson, devout fan of the Harry Potter series, this Harry Potter reference will make sense in a moment, lost 200 pounds after finding the teachings of Abraham Hicks and created a program helping others attract more fitness and a more harmonious relationship with food. If you've been around me for a while, you know I steer away from the word diet or the need to be thin. Eric's program, Deeper Diet, is not about restriction or diets. It's about going deeper. It's about loving your current body first. And yes, releasing pounds if that's something you desire. Focusing on what you want instead of what you don't want. Here's a little bit more about his program from Eric himself. Oh, and right now there's a half-off special for beta testers, so I would definitely check it out.
deeperdiet.com.
Greetings from Hogwarts School of Weight Loss Wizardry. I'm Professor Velacour.
And I'm Professor Crumpet, and we're just a small part of the cast of the audio Imaginarium over at deeperdiet.com.
Where every day we offer fun new Abraham-style guided meditations for weight loss.
And journaling exercises.
Pre-sleep meditations.
Even subliminal songs for weight loss. Perhaps we should explain Hogwarts.
Oh, Callum, we're talking to Abrahamsters. They know. We need to make peace with our extra pounds. Hug our warts, so to speak, before we can allow a more slender body to manifest.
Weight loss based more on avoiding junk thoughts than junk food.
Since we get what we think about.
Whether we want it or not.
To hear more about our fun and magical community, check us out today at deeperdiet.com.
If you're interested in sponsoring an episode, let me know. We have an introductory opportunity for only $150 for a completely done-for-you 60-second spotlight on your product or service, which also includes a shout-out post in my Facebook group. Sponsoring an episode is a wonderful way to get your offerings in front of like-minded folks. Message me for details. You can find my contact information in the show notes. Are there any hot seats that you had with Abraham around the subject of money and abundance?
Yes,
I thought so.
that's my favorite subject. So the backstory is that drone crash was in a Land Cruise, which they used to go for 4 days. And I went in a hot seat for 4 days, every day. So first day, everybody was like, oh, really so good. Second day, they're like, Esther, anybody? And the third day, people were like, can you please stop raising your hand so I can get to... And I'm like, I'm just raising my hand. It's like, I really am. So on that Land Cruise, I asked the question of becoming a billionaire. Mark Cuban, I said, oh, I want to be a cool billionaire. Like, how can I be? How can I do this? And Abraham gave me a really nice rampage of appreciation for money. And then, so this is a transformation. That didn't work for me. I should have said that didn't work for me because it's working. But what I mean is like my thought process changed around this. And then I didn't become rich overnight, which was super disappointing. Money didn't fall out of the sky, which, man, that sucked. And in that process that I became a little bit more, wow, this sucks. Like about myself, I'm like, I'm not able to do this. So in another hot seat, however long ago, I went in a hot seat and I set Abraham up. I love it. I said, Abraham, so whatever I wish, I have this, if I have a desire, it can become true. Abraham is yes. And so if this happens, it would work. Yes. I'm totally setting up Abraham in the back. So I'm like, haha, sucker. Figure out the And then I said, so I have this desire and this dream that we eliminate money from consciousness. And I thought about this for a long time. It's in others, because as soon as I asked that question, a bunch of people came. They said, this was my question too, as you can imagine. So I said, I don't think we should have money. Abraham is like, do tell more. I said, okay, so there are lots of people do things that they don't want to do because of money. There's a guy who's a doctor, but he wants to be a painter, but he has to be a doctor because he needs to pay his bills, because he needs money. And then there's a guy who's a painter who wants to be a doctor. He can't be a doctor because he doesn't have money to go to school. So I said, let's eliminate money from the consciousness, from the world. And so people just say, eventually there will be an equilibrium. People who want to be captains will become captains. People who want to clean, whatever. Everyone has a calling. And I believe people give up their dreams of who they want to be because they need money to pay for the things, blah, 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 blah.
That mass consciousness. We all see it, live it. Yeah.
So I'm like, 1,000 people here. One who's connected is more powerful. I said, there's a bunch of us here. I dropped this pebble, and then 10 years, no money. We're good. It didn't quite work out that way. So I like my transition. So I went from, I want $1 billion into, I don't want any money. Like, we should just get rid of money. Abraham answers to the second one of this elimination of money, said, maybe the world, the humanity, let's call this group of people humans, let's call them humans. And maybe over the centuries, they've actually perfected this medium of exchange. And therefore, money is the best form of exchange. So you don't have to have chickens to trade for cows,
Right.
blah, blah, and all that. So is how you and I started. Abraham moved me from this place of pushing against something that I unwanted. And this wasn't, of course, Abraham is wise. Abraham is, yeah, you're saying this, but what you're saying is, I don't want this thing that I can't have.
I don't want this. Okay. I don't want this thing
Wise?
that I'm surrendering, which is actually a good place to be as well, to surrender.
Yes. But it was like, oh, you want the money, but you feel you can't have the money. So now you're saying, let's not have money.
Yes. Okay.
So
So was that okay? So let me know where that went to, because
because I was telling Abraham, he told me that I can have whatever I want. And so now you're telling me that I should accept the situation as it is. So I was like, Abraham, you told me 10 seconds ago that I can have whatever I want. Now I'm telling you what I want is a world without money.
yeah,
Abraham said, yeah, you can have that if you want. But now you have to argue, convince for all this humanity. So you're doing a lot of hard work. You can have it, but the work for that is a lot harder. What you truly want is freedom. And
Mhm.
you can have this freedom of choices and desires and all that easier with having money than reinventing a whole new way of bartering where everybody gives up money. So now Rhonda also has to believe she doesn't want money. And then John also has to believe he doesn't want money. It's really tough. So
It's not the path of least resistance, is it?
that's it. And because I ask in another hot seat is if I want to fly, I should be able to fly. Why do I have to be ruled by rules of gravity? Abraham said, it's a collective consciousness. And Abraham said, because you want to know where your house is. If there is no gravity, if you're like, oh, we should float away, Abraham is like, how are we going to find your house? And I'm like, oh, okay. So this money thing was that connection, as in, oh, I don't want money. I don't want gravity. I don't want this thing that I don't want to learn the rules of this thing. So I don't want. Abraham was like, it's easier for you to soften your approach and learn
Yeah.
the rules of this thing. And then it's good because the whole humanity perfected this just for you. So you can enjoy it.
So where are you now? Where are you now with all of that?
About money?
Yeah. And not, oh, how successful are you, anything like that, but where are you in your beliefs now about money?
A few more discussions about this on a hot seat. So currently, I perceive money is a form of energy that comes in pieces of paper. I appreciate that it is actually a very nice form of exchange. I got that the other day. I was holding a stack of money, right? And I was thinking paper bills. And I have an upcoming boys trip with my high school friends. We're going to Morocco, perhaps when this episode is going to be published in early January. And I was just counting the money. And I go, let's say this 12 $100 bills is a plane ticket. It's compacted into these 12 pieces of
This is a
paper.
paper.
In it, it has flight attendants who are going to welcome me. It's going to have an airplane in it. It's going to have a captain who devoted his entire life into becoming a flight pilot.
Yeah.
It has these engineers who studied how to make the airplane go. It has these memories of me meeting with my friends and going to London and having dinner and having a few drinks and flying on another plane and going to Morocco and then doing all this thing. Right now, it's stored there. It's the seeds, but it isn't a piece of paper right now. I get to expand that and then turn it into all these things, and then I'll be able to go back, and these too will become memories, just like this land cruise or Atlanta trip and all those things. And so now I appreciate it a lot more, and I'm able to see it. So when I'm holding it, and this was a long time ago, I used to do this practice: hold the money and then stand praise or appreciation down the line and up the line. And so I'm like, oh, how it came to me all the way, and then how it's going to go travel all the way. And so
Yeah.
that's where I am. And the other thing is, I recognize now as bank account, money in my pocket, that money exchange that's happening is the number that I attract and I'm comfortable with. In my personal journey, what I'm seeking is being comfortable with more.
Mm-hmm.
I go,
Yeah.
this is really great. I'm comfortable attracting this much money, right? But 10 times more, this is a little bit more Bashar, right? I go, I don't know. I'm not really comfortable. I'm not uncomfortable, but I'm like, the lottery was $1.7 billion. I didn't buy a ticket for it. I'm like, I'm buying a ticket for 40 million.
whatever's feeling
Yeah,
better.
but that's,
Feeling
I
good.
go, oh, I have a limitation here. So now
Yeah.
when I'm meditating, when I'm thinking is, yeah, I deserve it, I want it, or whatever. But I see that as my own temperature of how I feel about this particular energy field that I call leading to money. Or you don't need money to have these. Abundance is separate than money. Money is separate than currency.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. It's all about receiving, being able to receive more and more. Like what I've been saying lately, it's already done. It's already done. It's already done. So there's nothing to do. It's such an interesting thing to contemplate that like there's nothing to do to deserve it or earn it. It's it's like that concept is still, and that's what
You
where I
lit my
yeah.
ears, please. I'd love once that becomes my reality. That's my everyday work. Like I was talking to my wife this morning. I said, "Oh, that's the part that I really want." Like when Abraham goes, "Art of allowing." That's how it
Yes.
starts. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Allowing is so much different, and I know from my background, how to say this without adding more juice to it. But it's easy. I feel like I need to justify it. Like I was listening to somebody, there's a recording, the guy is, I don't want to deserve it. I go, yeah. I feel like I need to deserve it, but that's a separation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes,
You
you
do
want-
already deserve it. And there's nothing you need to do to justify it. But that when you've been raised with a work ethic, work hard, don't be lazy, and that's how you get ahead. And then when you're learning all this stuff, like where I'm learning right now over and over again, is there's nothing to do. There's nothing you have to do. But at the same token, you don't have to do nothing. Follow the inspiration. When the inspiration hits, like right now, I'm inspired to do this podcast. But before, I would be inspired to be doing the podcast and the group program and the this and the that and thinking about all these projects I quote unquote need to do. And now it's like, I've got nothing. This podcast, it's all that I'm inspired in. I'm trusting. I'm just trusting. Okay. When the inspiration comes for the next thing, I will receive it.
Yeah, so
It's,
true.
yeah.
I know money is very important to me. If you listen to it, I ask a lot. For me, it represents freedom and choices.
Yes. Yes.
So when you don't have it, it's just like air. If you don't have it, all you think about is.
Survival mode. Yeah.
So I come up with, that's my background. It represented the freedom, it represented choice, it represented safety. So in my mind, end of the other stick of this abundance is I am homeless, poor, hungry, bad on the side of the street.
Yeah, that's, I think, on the other side of the stick for me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So I sold my last company 5 years ago, made good money, retired. I was miserable. First 3 months, I was practically suicidal because I lost my relevance. So I go, all this money can fill that hole.
Yeah.
So disturbing. It's so
Yeah.
disturbing.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like, how could this be? But it is like that hole is an internal hole. No external thing can fix it.
Right.
But like today, what you were saying is this is normal for me. Everything that I think is like, how can I make money from it? It's not even about this money. I don't have this love of money in there are different type of love. So it's not, it's like my love for money is my love for my freedom. I want to feel safe. I want to feel I'm going to be okay. I want to know that I'm not homeless, penniless, begging on the side of the road. Like that's for me, that's where I go.
Yeah.
Right? It's a visceral feeling. So what I'm thinking in terms of, so whatever I do, like when I bought that drone, I was thinking, I'm going to start a drone company. So I can justify having a drone because I'm going to spend $300 on me just for this thing. Don't deserve that. It has to be something. It has to serve a greater purpose of me making money. You know what I mean?
You
So
have to
now-
justify it. You can't just have something that you want, like a toy, just because you want it. You
Yeah,
know?
that's exactly right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it's like when that happens, it happens all the time. I don't know what it was, but I was talking to my wife and she said something. My brain immediately goes, oh, we could do this. It needs a website. It needs to do this. I already have a company. Like it's working. This is not necessary, but it's an addiction. It's not an addiction. It's momentum. So
Yeah, and it's how you frame it, right? You're like a serial entrepreneur. You love it. You love ideas. You're an idea guy, it sounds like. You have a creative brain. You're constantly thinking of new ways, new businesses, new ways to make money. You enjoy it.
yeah. But what I know is what you're saying. So when something comes easy, I go, this is not right. So I think for me, art of allowing is really, and I notice this when I'm like my sales, when I go, this is funny. This is really helpful for me as well. Therapy. It
This is
works.
therapy.
It's not like the other day, I'm like, okay, like where I am is just being okay, being who I am, not Turk the moneymaker, Turk the dog trainer, Turk the boss, Turk to this. I just want just be Turk. And then when I'm like this, it go make yourself useful. You're wasting energy, you're wasting time, you're wasting life, you're wasting God. That's programming, right? There's a lot of momentum. So it doesn't require a lot of pushing. I can just bump into it. It's, whoop. So now I'm like, breathe. That's harder. Taking a day off. What are you gonna do? Nothing. What? How could you not do nothing? I'm just gonna play a video game. Loser. Do something. Do you think Mark Cuban is playing a video game, you idiot? This is what's happening in my brain constantly. I go, breathe. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Be an observer. So then I'm like, my wife is, you want to go for a walk? Or my brain goes, get the hell out of here. I got shit to do. I go, no. Yeah, let's go for a walk. Now I'm walking and my calendar. Somebody schedule a consultation. Somebody did this. I go, yeah. Building momentum. You know what I mean? So I have a dog training company. So in the morning, I said when I'm meditating, I'm not being able to quiet my mind as much. I know about transcendental meditation, which I checked into during COVID. They weren't doing because it's supposed to be one-on-one. So all this. And I said, in the morning, I Google transcendental meditation in Charlotte, who teaches it, blah, blah. Moved on. And I was just thinking, yeah, that would be nice. I can imagine how that will be helpful for my this current struggle by quieting my crazy mind. Then I go about my business. And then I'm teaching my last appointment in the day. We're doing this dog training. This Indian lady walks by. She pets the dog, comes back. She's tall. We're in the middle of that appointment, right? So like, oh, this cuckoo
And
lady.
she says, hey, Turk, are you interested in transcendental meditation?
Exactly right. That's pretty close to it. So we close up the lesson. I walk up. She's still standing there. And she's, what do you do? I'm like, I'm a dog trainer. We're just having a little chit chat. You live here? Great. I'm from Mumbai, Bangalore. She says, I go back to India a few days. I said, oh, what do you do? She says, I teach yoga and meditation. I said, huh. I was like, I'm really interested. I said, well, she says, I'm here for 4 more days. If you like. I'd be more than happy to teach this to you. I am Dr. So she's been doing this for 20 years in India. And she's right here. Charlotte, walking distance from my house. I'm like, sure. Now I go, sure. Hell yeah. This is great. I was like, what, this is so easy. I share my wife. I'm really excited. Immediately after that, hang on. This is too easy. Is she a scammer? What the hell why would she come to me? Why does she not put a lot of money? Yeah. And then she's, oh, instead of doing in person, can we do Zoom? I'm like, see, this is what it is. And I
Mhm.
go, stop. Let's milk how easy this was.
Good. Good.
Choice. That's the conscious creation versus creation by default. That's Abraham's word. So my default, because I have more momentum on this, too easy. You get a man, you need to go to Boone. You need to go to Ashram. It needs to be hard. You need to pay more money. It needs to be that's all part of default brain with
Yeah.
thought what everybody is thinking.
Programming. Yeah, I love when that happens. You notice, oh my gosh, I just had a very soft desire. Just a thought, a little, wouldn't it be nice to do that, to have that? And then somebody walks by and says, here you go. Here you go. Did you order this? Here it is. It's just too easy. And that it happens so quickly. It's like almost instant manifestation, right? Sometimes. And it just goes to show that when you have a soft desire and you don't care if it happens or not, it's just you have no attachment to the outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We experienced this on like cruises and land cruises. Any Abers listening to this from Abraham Hicks, please bring land cruises. That's like the most powerful thing that I've witnessed. But when we're in these events, multi-day events, we experience this all the time. I don't know if you've gone to any cruises and all.
I
But
did
even in
last year.
Nashville, when it's 2 days, you're like, oh, somebody comes in and goes, oh, I'm thinking about being a dancer. And then somebody who's a dancer walks. And
Yeah.
then it's common for people to ask on the cruises and all these things to go, why can I not have this when I'm not on the cruise? And I'm thinking,
But you
it's
can.
happening, bro. It's happening. So I'm the one who's muddying it.
I was trying to think of an example of this, and I just remembered one. So I started taking this improv class, and I thought, oh my God, this is so much fun. I want more of this. Like, I want more. And it was a very soft desire. That's it. That was gone. And then the next day, the instructor sends out an email saying, so and so is offering a free spot to his class, his improv class. First person who emails me can have it. And so I thought, why not? I emailed and I said, I'd love to have that spot as well. That would mean 2 classes a week instead of 1. But I thought, what the heck? I probably won't win it. I don't care. Anyway, I won it. So now I have 2 classes a week. I've had a soft desire. I want more on this. And then it was like the same day, bam. And when those things happen, I'm going, okay, maybe, I could just let go of the attachment to more money. Let go to the attachment to more free time. Let go and just have it be a soft desire. And that's where I'm at. It's just, okay, I don't care. I don't care anymore. Like when you don't care, you're just releasing all the resistance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I thought about early Abraham analogy, they used to say, imagine you're going from Phoenix to New York. Until you're in New York, you're not in New York. So if you're in Texas, if you go, this is true for me, is I'm not in New York yet. I'm not like in Jory Jordan.
Yeah.
And so everything has a manifestation period. So we know that. This is the rules of the third dimensional world. So that was always a stickler for me. They're like, hey, it's in your vortex. I'm like, that and a $2, you only have $2. You know what I mean? I was like,
Yeah.
what does that mean? Now I understand what that really means. It's really we're meeting to that. You know what I mean? So Everything
well,
is,
can you say more about that? What that means to you?
yeah.
It's in your
So
vortex.
everything is the gestation process because we live in the three-dimensional world, at least this
Yeah.
part that's having this discussion. So this three-dimensional world has rules. If you're pregnant, you can't go, "Oh, I'm going to have 6 months of pregnancy." Human pregnancy requires 9 months. That's the gestation period. Like Abraham used to say, you put a corn on the ground. If you're digging up every 4 days, this is where the hell is the corn? That corn is never going to grow. So that's the part that it clicked on me. I don't necessarily want $1 billion, but there's a certain lifestyle things that I want. I have it, but I don't have it in this see it, feel it, right? It's the gestation process is happening. Because once you put it in there, Abraham is like, it's done. So I was like, nah, it's not done because it's here. I look at my bank account, I still have $100. I don't care if I have $1 billion on my vortex because I can spend that on a bread and eat. But what I understand now is it's done like you're pregnant. You don't have a baby yet, but you're pregnant.
Please stop saying that. I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
but is
Yes.
yes, there's this journey that has to happen before the baby.
Yes.
And that gestation is what we were talking about is I want the desire. Boom. That's fertilized egg. Everything has a time. And I personally was pushing against, keep digging. Come on, corn. So now I'm like, yeah,
Measuring.
it's fine. And that's what I'm hearing you say when you say, I don't care. You do care. You want that. But you detach from whether you get it or not. And therefore, you not keep digging it. I was listening to an old recording, Neville. I'm a big Neville Goddard fan. Abraham says this to Abraham says, where you are, how you feel, and what's manifesting around you. Look around. If it's all is good, that's great. If there's a bunch of things you don't want, that's also great. It lets you know it's a feedback mechanism. It says, Turk, you've been thinking a bunch of junk. How do you know? There's a bunch of junk around you. Or how you feel. Those two things, I don't deviate. All my work, everything that I do, and I only work on myself, is how can I feel better and how can I manifest more things? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Neville says, if you don't remember what you planted, wait, because it'll grow.
Yeah. You'll see. And also, what do you think about that? It can manifest very quickly. Even though we're living in 3D, we can also elevate and live in more of a 5D. And things can happen like instantly. Like if it's already done, it's already done. I know you probably agree with this. I like to hear what you have to say, but it's already done. Therefore, the less resistance I have, it can pop up right there and then, like instantly. Just if I have a soft desire about, oh, having more improv classes, I could have a soft desire about more money. And that soft desire is going to allow it to show up sooner.
Yes.
Yeah.
Only thing is things that are coming to us can only come through what we believe it possible. So it can only come into the path that we perceive as possible. And I think that is the limiting belief that we're dealing with, the people who are programmed to perform.
Yeah, it has so much to do with our beliefs. And yet, I'm wondering now, just a question I've been having lately. You don't have to do this perfectly. You don't have to believe it like 100%. It could be less than 100%. It could be maybe 60% or 51% that you believe that, yes, this new house is here. Like I'm 61%, I'm just making up numbers, but like I'm 61% in my imagination living in this house. I personally want to have a house, buy a house near my son in Colorado. Like just imagining that I'm there. imagining I'm like 5 minutes away from him and they could come over and visit, or I can go visit them and I could see him more often and they like me being there. So just I don't have to do any of this perfectly. It's just like practicing that vibration, using my imagination. I don't even have to, my alignment is not going to have, it doesn't have to be, absolutely does not have to be perfect. It's just like feeling for the better feeling thought. What's a better feeling thought? Just like thought, and I don't have to be happy on that high flying disc all the time. That's just not, I don't want to say it's not possible, but it's not necessary to attract and allow these things into your life. And it's so ironic that you don't even have, you don't want to be attached to it. You want it, practicing the I don't care. Which, like you said, you picked up on, is not necessarily honest sometimes to say I don't care, but it's just like working that muscle, letting go. I care a little bit less. Like I
Yeah.
even had the thought the other day, I have a great life. I live in a beautiful city. This is where I wanted to live. I have freedom. I can go traveling with my husband or without him. He's okay with it all. I really have great life. So yeah, I'd like to attract and allow even more money. Almost letting go of that a little bit. Like I could feel that starting to happen, like really almost letting go of that and just doing what I want to do that brings me fun.
Yeah, this is what Abraham was taught. They go, happy where you are, eager for more.
Yes.
I experienced that recently as well. I was somewhere and I was like, bro, beautiful house. And I remember creation of this house from my inspiration, like how it unfolds, right? And it's the things that really matter. I'm like, got money, I could go wherever I want. I work for myself. That's like such a blessing. You know what I mean? It's Monday. We get to talk. And freedom is really important for me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Working for somebody else is
Mhm.
always, I've been an entrepreneur because you got to control my 11 o'clock on a Monday. Uh, I like to control it. You know what I mean?
Yes, I
Like,
do. I do.
I was just thinking about these things and I told myself, Turk, if you can't be happy right now, the rest of the shit is not going to make you happy. Like you have it. And I go, this is what Abraham means. And then I'm really flowing. And the other thing that I recognized recently, I have pages and pages of appreciation,
Mm.
but I'm going through the motions rather than feeling appreciations for it. So
Mm.
when I shifted that, and my work is walking my talk. To me, I joke about this. This is really true. I heard this from one of my teachers. It says, when I practice what I preach, I shall be a master. Of these things that I know, but I don't always do. But once I go, can I feel appreciation for this
Yes.
house? Oh, that's a different than, yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I have a house. Is different than, I remember, and this came up a lot in Amsterdam workshop. I remember when I was dreaming about this house.
Mm.
You know what I mean? You want to
Mhm.
move to Colorado. So right now you're fantasizing how it's going to feel. And I don't know about seeing my son is like, being able to hop on a bike and go visit him. How will that feel? I feel like
Right.
good. Or if you have grandkids, they're like, here are the grandkids hanging out with grandma, and they can just do that because they want to have a date. And you're like fantasizing about that dream, not, I need to think about this so it will happen. But it's going to be really cool to be able to do that. And it's going to be really cool to be in Colorado, being able to hike. It's going to be really good to be able to do this thing without saying, God damn it, it's not here already. So that's part of my brain goes, but it's not here. That's not the time of it. Right now, it's the gestation period. So I'm adding pieces like this house that we live. We had some things that we wanted. And these were the times when I was listening to Abraham about when they say feeling of having it. It's not, oh, I have a Tesla. Oh, I have a house. Oh, I have a pool. What it's going to feel like. But really owning that pool, what it's going to feel like. Ah, like when I'm journaling, I could go, I'm going to have this by the pool. So it was like these things that I'm often I could be antisocial in like large groups of people. So when when we're buying, looking for a new house, I was like, I'd like to have a separate place where I can just leave and have people do stuff. Or I want a place where I can play a video game, somebody else having a discussion, and we don't interfere with each other. You know what I mean? Like my
Mm-hmm.
wife is, I want to be able to open the door, walk out, and be able to walk
Mm-hmm.
and not worry about whatever.
Yeah.
For some reason, I love sound of kids playing. So I always like hearing kids. It's like birds.
Yeah. Yeah.
This and that. We look bunch of houses, whatever didn't work it. And then we found this house. Almost same square footage of our house that we're moving from. It had all these living things. You can walk. We have these different segments of the house that's separate, backed into a school. So my backyard, I could hear the kids, all this stuff. And it was way more than
Mm.
what I was thinking. Ooh, can't do this. Not gonna work. Can't afford it. Man, I'm crashing my drone. I found the house. Oh, I can't afford it. I found this house. Man, I can't have it. And then it was like, we were in another house. I had a friend who wanted to buy a house in our neighborhood. I said, bro, can you buy this house? He goes, yes. He says, don't worry, I'm going to tear it down. Here's all the money you need for this, and paid cash. That put the down payment on this house so we could afford it. You know what I mean? It's like all these things with Abraham calls surprise and delight. And that's what you're saying is you go, I want more. And then someone says, here, it's available.
Yeah.
Boom. And then it just
Here's some more.
unfolds.
Yeah.
And more we acknowledge and shine a light on that, you're like, yeah, this is what happened. It's the creator, God, Abraham, spirit, energy, doesn't care. Gravity doesn't care what you say. But what our brain does is you go, oh yeah, that happened too. It puts one more counterweight on the things that I can have things. I can have my cake and eat it too and
Yeah.
enjoy it and not gain weight.
Yeah. Yes, and that's what I've been doing. I've been like actually, imagining walking through my new home, my second home in Colorado, and like all those things you said. I love that. Just like I could ride my bike over to his house or whatever. I could rent it out when I'm not there, Airbnb it. And what does it smell like? What are the colors on the walls? What's the kitchen counter look like? Like those kind of details help you, like using your 3D, your human body as your senses, your ears, your eyes, your nose, and to create and live that experience. And then just forget it. Just forget about it. And the universe fills in that grid.
Yeah.
When
But
and there's no timeline. Like you don't have, oh, it has to happen by, no, just let go.
So I'm not a good visualizer. I'm more kinesthetic person. So I feel how it's going to feel like
Yeah.
rather than have pictures. It's a little bit of harder for me what it's going to look like. I don't know, but I know what it's
So
gonna
what does that mean? Because I'm kinesthetic as well. So I guess I'm both. But so what do? You imagine, what am I feeling when I'm here?
Yeah. So it's like how, for me, based on what you were saying, is like, how will it feel to be close to my son?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But
And
then you want to feel that emotion right then in that moment.
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So the grid is I don't care. You know what I mean? I do care, but I don't care.
Yes.
It's but each things that we want is the deeper question is why do I want it? Because it's gonna make me happy. Okay, whatever. But like I was listening to some random other podcast. So they're like saying, people want Tesla, but they don't really want Tesla. They actually want the social status of this, and then transportation, reliability, being good to nature. You know what I mean? Yeah, I want this, but what it represents is these 7 different things that it tickles in me. And then so being able to think those things, and then for me, when I feel those things, and then things unfold, and then I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, so that's how it works for me. I've not been a good visualizer. When I close my eyes, I just see darkness.
Yeah, yeah. And the social status, that's okay to want that too. This has been such a wonderful conversation. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And I want you to let people know how they can find you.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for doing this. I really appreciate it. I love talking about law of attraction. This is something that I love more than anything else. So if there are ears, I like to talk about this. It's all good if there are ears that's listening. I don't have any product that I sell. Your audience can find me probably on Instagram, Turk Akbay, TurkAkbay. I don't, because I do a lot of Abraham stuff. If you send a friend request, just make sure that this is from the podcast, so I'll accept it. I have a few videos on YouTube. If you go Turk Akbay, when I go to Abraham events, I do reviews and all that. Again, I'm not selling anything, but
Yeah.
I like to connect with other Abers and other people. That's my stuff.
Okay, fantastic. Such a really great conversation. Again, I really appreciate it. Thank you so
Thank you, Rhonda.
much.
I really appreciate it. I hope to see you in Asheville sometime. We'll grab some food and hopefully
Yeah.
Abraham will come to Asheville soon too.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Turk Akbay. Connect with Turk on Facebook and Instagram by searching his name, Turk, Turk Akbay, Akbay. His website is offleashdogtraining.com. All Turk's links are in the show notes as well. I've also got some gifts for you. The first one is my free guided visualization on abundance, plus 6 of my top episodes on prosperity. Go to deliciousalignment.com/abundance to get your visualization now. The second is my free for a limited time course called Love Your Body, which includes 20 short videos based on my 5 steps to loving your body and improving your relationship with food. Go to deliciousalignment.com/free course to begin receiving your videos. And last but not least, I want to make sure you know about my book, Delicious Alignment: How 25 Women Learn to Love and Transform Their Bodies Using Abraham Hicks and the Law of Attraction, which you can find on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and Audible formats. You can find all these links in the show notes. Well, that's it for today, my friend. I hope you tune in next week for my integration episode, where I will expand on the highlights of this interview. If you have questions pertaining to today's content, send them to me, and I'd be happy to address them next week. And stay tuned for my next episode with Ramona Galley, who channels Oprah. Different Oprah, not Oprah Winfrey. In this episode, Oprah answers questions about money, spending money, and health concerns from 3 attendees, including me. It was quite an eye-opening, goosebump-inducing episode, as it always is whenever I get a chance to speak to Oprah. As always, if you loved this interview, please share it on social and leave a review on iTunes or a comment on YouTube. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.